The blade came faster than thought. Captain Elena Reyes didn't flinch. Her hand shot up, fingers closing around the shimmering edge half an inch from her throat. The weapon hummed against her palm, vibrating with molecular disruption technology designed to slice through reinforced armor. Blood welled between her fingers, bright red against alien silver. Queen Shavara's chamber fell silent. The assassin stood frozen, confusion rippling across her chitinous features. She was Krithak, the galaxy's most feared killers, beings engineered over millennia for one purpose. Her forearms trembled as she tried to wrench the blade free. It didn't move. "Your radiance," Elena said quietly, not looking away from the assassin. "Step back, please." The Veltharian queen remained on her throne, compound eyes wide. Around them, her court guards finally moved, raising plasma weapons with shaking appendages. They'd been paralyzed by shock. The Krithak were supposed to be unstoppable. 3,000 documented assassinations across 700 worlds. 0 failures, until now. Elena's grip tightened. The blade's edge bit deeper, but her expression never changed. She'd felt worse pain in the neural conditioning tanks during special operations training. She'd felt worse pain yesterday, holding Private Chen's hand while the medics worked. "You can't," the Krithak hissed. Her translator rendered the words flat, emotionless, but her body language screamed disbelief. "No organic should withstand the resonance frequency. Your cellular structure should be separating." "Should be," Elena agreed. She twisted her wrist. The blade snapped. The assassin stumbled backwards, staring at the broken weapon in her primary hands. Her secondary arms reached for backup armaments, but Elena was already moving. 3 steps closed the distance. Her boot connected with the Krithak's thorax, sending the alien sprawling across polished stone. Guards swarmed forward, surrounding the assassin with a forest of weapons. Elena stepped back, pressing her bleeding hand against her tactical vest. The wound wasn't deep. She'd angled her palm to catch the flat near the hilt, letting only the tip cut her. Misdirection. Let them think she'd grabbed the killing edge itself. "Captain Reyes." Queen Shavara's voice resonated through the chamber, harmonics suggesting multiple emotional states simultaneously. Fear, awe, suspicion. "You have saved my life. Just doing my job, Your Radiance." "No." The queen rose from her throne, her massive form unfolding with surprising grace. 12 feet of chitinous plates and ceremonial silks. No guard has ever stopped a Kree attack. Not Veltharian, not Zorathi, not Talon. In 3,000 years, no one has survived close contact. Elena said nothing. Around the chamber, courtiers whispered among themselves in their clicking, harmonic language. She caught fragments through her translator. "Human. Impossible. How?" The sound was wrong, wet and rasping. "You don't understand what you've done, human. I was their mercy." Queen Shavara's guards hauled the Krithak to her feet. Or what passed for feet, her lower limbs bent at odd angles, designed for impossible acrobatics. "Explain," the queen commanded. "The Krithak never fail." The assassin's compound eyes fixed on Elena. "When we are deployed, the target dies. That is certainty. That is why the Hive sends only one." She gestured with a secondary arm at the assembled guards. The court, the queen herself. "When one fails, the Hive sends everyone." Elena felt ice spread through her chest. "How many?" "All of us." The assassin's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "Every Krithak not currently contracted. 300 warriors. They're already in your system." She looked at Queen Shavara. "I was your clean death, Radiance. Now you'll get the alternative." The queen's guards tightened their grip, but Shavara raised a primary manipulator. "Why tell us this? Professional courtesy. You'll be dead in 6 cycles regardless." The assassin focused on Elena again. "But I'm curious. Before the end, tell me, how did you stop the blade? What augmentation lets you withstand molecular disruption?" Elena met the alien's gaze steadily. She thought about the farmhouse in Montana where she'd grown up. The morning she'd caught a rattlesnake barehanded because it was near her little brother's sandbox. Her mother's face when she'd walked inside, snake writhing in her grip, and said, "I got it, Mama." The pain tolerance training. The 100 small adaptations humanity had made to join a galaxy that considered them soft, weak, briefly lived. She thought about Private Chen, gutshot during the riot on Telnar. 7 gripping her hand hard enough to break bones while the medics worked, never making a sound. No augmentation, Elena said. Just practice. The Kretak stared at her. Then she began to laugh again, that wet, rasping sound. 300 of my siblings are coming, human. How much have you practiced? Queen Shavara moved to Elena's side. Her voice held the harmonic of desperate hope. Captain Reyes, I must ask, can humanity help defend against this threat? Your people have proven resourceful. Elena looked at her bleeding palm, at the broken blade on the floor, at the alien assassin who'd killed thousands. She thought about the 73 human soldiers under her command. 73 Marines sent to guard a diplomatic mission on a world humanity barely understood, against 300 perfect killers. Your Radiance, Elena said quietly. I need to make some calls. The hive will be here in 6 cycles, the assassin reminded them cheerfully. Your ships can't arrive in time. Your reinforcements can't help. You're already dead. Elena pulled her communicator from her belt with her good hand. Then we'd better get started. Queen Shavra's compound eyes studied her. You genuinely believe you can stop them? It wasn't a question, but Elena answered anyway. Your Radiance, with respect, I've spent my entire career being underestimated. So has every other human in this galaxy. She activated the communicator. Marines, this is Reyes. Full alert. We have incoming hostiles. Kretak. 300 of them. The response was immediate. Sergeant Morrison's voice crackled through. Understood, Captain. Rules of engagement? Elena looked at the assassin, still smiling despite her capture. At the Queen, whose civilization had ruled this sector for millennia, at the assembled court, aliens from a dozen species, all watching the human with a mixture of hope and pity. Survival, Elena said. By any means necessary. She cut the connection and turned to Queen Shavara. Your Radiance, I need complete access to your security systems, architectural plans for every building in the palace complex, and a full inventory of available weapons and defenses. I also need you to evacuate all non-essential personnel within the next 2 hours. You have it. All of it. The Queen gestured, and her attendants scattered. But, Captain, I must know. Do you truly have a plan? Elena thought about farm country in Montana, about catching snakes, about her drill instructor's favorite saying, humans ain't the biggest, ain't the fastest, ain't the strongest. But we're mean, we're stubborn, and we absolutely refuse to die easy. Working on it, Your Radiance, she said. The Kretak assassin's laughter followed them out of the throne room. Sergeant Morrison was waiting when Elena reached the command center. The converted palace wing hummed with activity. Marines checking weapons, running diagnostics, pulling up tactical displays. 73 men and women, most barely out of their 20s, preparing to face an army of engineered killers. Status, Elena said, wrapping her hand quickly with a field dressing. Morrison pulled up a holographic display. Perimeter sensors are active. We've got overlapping fields of fire on all approaches. Lieutenant Park is setting up the heavy weapons on the palace roof. Corporal Williams is mining the secondary approaches. He paused. Captain, I pulled the files on the Kretak. 300 confirmed kills. They don't miss. They don't fail. And they definitely don't stop. Until today they didn't, Elena said. She studied the palace layout, noting choke points, kill zones, potential ambush sites. The one in the throne room failed. That changes the equation. Does it? Morrison's voice was careful. Ma'am, I've served with you for 6 years. I trust you completely. But catching one blade and stopping 300 warriors are different problems. He wasn't wrong. The assassin had been surprised, off balance, expecting easy prey. The next wave wouldn't make that mistake. They'd come prepared for human resistance. Adapted, lethal. Tell me about their tactics, she said. Morrison pulled up archived footage. They work alone or in swarms depending on target difficulty. Prefer stealth infiltration, but can do frontal assault if necessary. Unaugmented ones can lift 3 times their body weight, move faster than most species can track, and have redundant nervous systems that make them nearly impossible to incapacitate. He highlighted several anatomical diagrams. Kill shots need to destroy the primary ganglion here, or sever all 4 limbs simultaneously. What about weaknesses? Lieutenant Park spoke from the doorway, armor still steaming from the rooftop heat. They've never failed, so they expect success. That assassin told us they were coming because she genuinely believes it doesn't matter. Elena studied the footage again, watching a Kretak warrior flow through a security corridor like liquid death. They hunt alone by preference. Pack hunters can be dangerous when they coordinate, but Most species pack hunters are weaker individually. The Kreothak are different, strong alone, overwhelming in numbers. So we can't let them coordinate, Morrison said. Exactly. Elena began marking the palace map, highlighting corridors, chambers, access points. They'll come fast and hard, trying to overwhelm us through speed and numbers. We can't match their speed, but we can control the environment. She looked up at her assembled Marines. We turn this palace into a maze. Separate them. Force them into kill zones where numbers don't matter. That only works if they're dumb enough to follow our layout. They will be. Elena replayed the throne room confrontation in her mind. The assassin's shock. Her certainty. They've never lost before. They don't know how to adapt because they've never needed to. That's our edge. We'll need to seal off sections, create bottlenecks, set up overlapping fields of fire, and we'll need the Veltharians to evacuate the areas we're fortifying. Already in progress. Elena pulled up a secondary display showing evacuation routes. Queen Shavara is moving her court to the deep shelters. We're holding the upper palace and courtyards. Anywhere the Kreothak might infiltrate. What about the queen herself? Park asked. She's the target. We turn the palace into a killing ground above her. Elena highlighted 3 main approach routes. Morrison, you take the east wing with 2nd Squad. Park, west wing with 3rd. I'll hold the central approach with 1st Squad. That's spreading us thin, Morrison noted. It has to be. We can't give them a single breakthrough point. Elena began assigning specific positions, weapons loads, fallback routes. Her mind worked through contingencies, backup plans, desperate last stands. They'll infiltrate through multiple vectors. We need to be everywhere. Private Chen appeared, arm still in a sling from Telnar. 7. Captain, the mines are set. Corporal Williams rigged the secondary corridors with proximity charges and motion sensors. Anything moving through those passages gets shredded. Quote, Good. What about the environmental systems? Well, we can vent atmosphere from sealed sections, drop temperature to freezing, or flood corridors with coolant mist to mess with their thermal imaging. Chen pulled up the environmental controls. The Veltharians built this place to survive sieges. We've got options. Elena studied the systems, her tactical mind racing. Can we cycle sections independently? Yes, ma'am. Each wing has isolated life support. Then here's what we do. Elena began drawing on the display, sketching a plan that made Morrison whistle low. We let them in, specific corridors, predetermined routes. We make it look like weak points in our defense. Ambush corridors, Park said, understanding dawning. We funnel them into kill zones. More than that, Elena highlighted the environmental controls. We make them think they're winning. Let them penetrate deep. Then we seal the sections and turn the palace itself into a weapon. She looked around at her Marines. The Kreothak have never failed because they've always controlled the engagement. We're going to take that control away? Morrison nodded slowly. It's risky. If even one breaks through to the shelters, then we've already lost, Elena finished. But if we try to hold a conventional defense line, they'll tear through us in minutes. This way we make them fight our battle, not theirs. Queen Shavara entered, her bulk filling the doorway. Behind her, the captured Kreothak assassin was being escorted by guards, bound with polymer restraints. Captain Reyes, the Queen said, my intelligence officials wish to question the prisoner, but I thought you should be present. Up close, the Kreothak was even more impressive. Muscles coiled like steel cables beneath chitinous plates, forearms ending in hands capable of crushing bone. The being radiated controlled lethality even in restraints. You're planning a defense, the assassin observed. Clever. Futile, but clever. Quote, tell me about your siblings, Elena said. How will they approach? End quote. Why would I help you? Because you're curious. Elena met those compound eyes steadily. You want to know if we can actually do it, if humans are genuinely capable of stopping the Kreothak. Professional pride. A long silence. Then the assassin shifted, her restraints clinking. They'll infiltrate during the twilight cycle, maximum shadow coverage. Probably split into 3 groups, one for each major palace section. Fast insertion, overwhelming force, converging on the central target. She paused. They'll expect resistance. After my failure, they'll be prepared for unusual tactics. But not human tactics, Elena said. No one is prepared for human tactics. You're too new to the galaxy. Too unpredictable. The assassin leaned forward. That's what intrigues me. 300 of my siblings against 73 humans. By all logic, you should evacuate, abandon this contract. Save yourselves. That's not how we work, Morrison said from behind Elena. The assassin's eyes swiveled to study him. No, I'm beginning to understand that. Your species is either brilliantly brave or catastrophically stupid. Both, Elena said, depending on the day. She turned to Queen Shavara. Your Radiance, I need you in the shelters within the hour. My people need freedom to operate without worrying about civilian casualties. The Queen's harmonics carried resignation and determination. You genuinely believe you can protect my world with 73 soldiers. I believe we're going to make 300 perfect killers wish they'd picked a different target, Elena said. She gestured to the tactical display. We've been underestimated our entire history, Your Radiance. Every species that's ever met us assumed we were weak because we're not specialized, we're not the fastest or strongest or smartest, but we're adaptable. Queen Shavara studied the display, her compound eyes processing the tactical layout. This plan is madness. You're inviting them inside your defensive perimeter. Yes, ma'am. And you believe you can stop them once they're inside. Yes, ma'am. The Queen's harmonics shifted to something like respect. Captain Reyes, I have ruled for 60 cycles. I have seen countless species, countless warriors, countless tactics. Never have I seen anyone face the Kreetak with such confidence. Confidence and ability are different things, Elena admitted, but we're about to find out which one matters more. The assassin laughed that wet, rasping laugh again. 5 cycles until they arrive, human. I suggest you use your time wisely.
Elena checked her chronometer.
5 cycles. In human terms, about 30 hours. 30 hours to turn a palace into a trap. 30 hours to prepare for an enemy that had never lost. 30 hours to prove that humanity belonged in this galaxy. All right, people, she said to her assembled Marines. Morrison, start sealing the ambush corridors. Park, I want those heavy weapons positioned for overlapping fields of fire. Chen, work with the Veltharian engineers on environmental control timing. I want to be able to vent, freeze, or flood any section within 5 seconds of my command. The Marines scattered to their tasks. Queen Shavara watched them go, then turned to Elena. Why do you fight so hard for my world, Captain? Your species barely knows mine. You have no ancestral ties, no deep alliance. This is a contract assignment. You could evacuate and face no dishonor. About her brother in the sandbox, unaware of the snake. About catching danger barehanded because someone had to. Your Radiance, she said quietly. My planet has a saying, not on my watch. It means some things aren't acceptable. Some lines don't get crossed. Not while we're standing. She met the Queen's compound eyes. The Krithak want to kill you. They want to prove they're unstoppable. And yeah, maybe they are. Maybe we're all dead in 30 hours. But they're going to have to go through us to find out. And I promise you, Your Radiance, they're going to remember the price. The Queen's harmonics carried no translation. They were pure emotion. Wonder. Fear for these strange, stubborn mammals who refuse to accept the impossible. Then I will pray to the ancestors for your success, Captain Reyes. Appreciated, Your Radiance. But we're going to need more than prayers. The Queen's guards escorted her toward the shelters. The Krithak assassin remained, watching Elena with those unreadable compound eyes. You'll fail, the assassin said. But I admit, human, you'll fail spectacularly. Elena smiled without humor. We'll see. She turned to the tactical display, pulling up personnel files, weapons inventories, architectural weak points. Her mind raced through scenarios, contingencies, desperate gambits. 73 Marines against 300 perfect killers? The kind of odds that made military historians shake their heads. The kind of odds humanity specialized in. Private Chen returned, arm still in its sling. Captain, all sections are rigged. We're ready. Young faces, most of them. Kids from farms and cities, from every corner of Earth, who'd volunteered to guard humanity's interests in a galaxy that didn't quite trust them yet. They'd trained together, fought together, bled together, and now they'd face the most feared killers in known space together. Morrison, she called into her comm. Status on the East Wing? Locked down tight, Captain. Heavy plasma cannons on the approaches, proximity mines in the corridors, fallback positions prepared. We're ready? Park? Got some creative ideas for those environmental controls. The Krithak are going to hate what we've done with the place. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Her people, her Marines. 73 reasons to believe in impossible things. All personnel, she broadcast. This is Captain Riaz. In approximately 29 hours, we're going to face an enemy that's never lost. They're faster than us, stronger than us, and they've got hundreds of years of experience. By every logical measure, we should already be dead. She paused, letting that sink in. But logic didn't account for human stubbornness. Logic didn't account for what we've built here. Logic definitely didn't account for the fact that we absolutely refuse to lose. Her voice hardened. The Kryatak think they're unstoppable. Let's teach them what happens when unstoppable meets immovable. Let's show this whole damn galaxy what humanity means when we say not on our watch. The comm crackled with responses. Affirmatives, battle cries. Morrison's voice cutting through. Damn right, Captain. Elena closed her eyes briefly. She thought about her mother who'd watched her daughter catch that rattlesnake and simply said, next time use the rake. She thought about every drill instructor who'd pushed her past human limits. She thought about Private Chen, got shot and silent, refusing to scream because his captain needed to stay focused. She opened her eyes. Let's get to work. The palace transformed over the next 28 hours. Corridors became kill zones. Elegant chambers turned into fortified positions. The Veltharian architectural beauty twisted into something deadly, purposeful. Every angle calculated, every position prepared. Every trap ready. Elena walked the perimeter at hour 27, checking final preparations. The Marines were quiet, focused. No bravado now. They understood what was coming, Captain. Morrison fell into step beside her. The Queen's asking for an update. Wants to know if we're ready. Twilight was beginning, shadows lengthening. Out there, 300 perfect killers were approaching. Unstoppable force meeting immovable object. Tell her Radiance, Elena said quietly, that humanity is always ready. The Kryatak came with the darkness. Sensors detected them at the outer perimeter, swift shadows that barely registered before they were passed. Elena watched from the command center, multiple displays showing different palace sections. Her Marines were in position, weapons ready, breathing controlled. Contact, east wall, Morrison reported. Multiple targets, moving fast. They're inside. Elena's hands were steady on the tactical controls. Let them come. Stick to the plan. The Kryatak flowed through the palace like water. Impossibly fast, impossibly silent. They moved in coordinated groups, covering each other with trained precision. Elena watched them split into three forces, exactly as the captured assassin had predicted. East wing. Central approach. They're entering the ambush corridors, Chen reported from sensors. Hold, Elena commanded. Let them get deep. On the displays, the Kryatak advanced confidently. They'd studied the palace layout, knew the optimal routes. What they didn't know was that every optimal route had been prepared, rigged, weaponized. The first group hit Morrison's section. 20 Kryatak warriors flowing through the east wing corridors, moving toward the central shelters where Queen Shavra awaited. They passed the first checkpoint, the second advancing with lethal grace. Morrison's voice was ice calm. They're in position. Execute, Elena said. The world erupted. Proximity mines detonated in calculated sequence, not to kill but to channel. The Kryatak scattered, adapting instantly, flowing around the explosions. Exactly as Elena had predicted, they regrouped in a large chamber, the killing ground Morrison's squad had prepared. Now, Morrison ordered. Heavy plasma cannons opened up from concealed positions. The chamber became hell, overlapping fields of fire that no amount of speed could dodge. Kryatak warriors fell, their chitinous armor no match for concentrated plasma. But they were learning, adapting, some breaking through to engage Morrison's Marines directly. Elena watched one Kryatak warrior take 3 plasma bolts and keep coming. Watched it close with a Marine, forearms blurring with lethal intent. Watched the Marine, Private Kowalski, from Detroit, sidestep at the last instant, letting the Kryatak's momentum carry it into a prepared kill zone. The warrior fell. East wing holding, Morrison reported. 17 down. 3 broke through to Section B. Chen, seal Section B, and vent atmosphere. Roger that. On the display, emergency bulkheads slammed down. 3 Kryatak warriors found themselves trapped in an isolated corridor. Then the atmosphere began evacuating. The warriors tried to break through the bulkheads, their strength impressive but insufficient against reinforced Veltharian alloy. They died silently in vacuum. West Wing engaged, Park called. Her voice was tight. They're smart, Captain. They're not following the corridors anymore. They're cutting through walls. Elena cursed. Adaptable. The Krethak were learning from their casualties, changing tactics. Environmental controls. Make them regret it. Park section flooded with coolant mist, temperature dropping to freezing. But the Krethak pushed through, slowed but not stopped. Elena watched them breach into Park's prepared positions, engaging the Marines in close combat. This was where it got ugly. Close quarters, the Krethak's preferred engagement range. Elena watched her people fight with everything they had. Training, weapons, sheer desperate courage. Lieutenant Park emptied her rifle into a charging warrior at point-blank range, then used the empty weapon as a club when it kept coming. Corporal Williams took a blade through the shoulder but managed to detonate a shaped charge that took out 3 Krethaks simultaneously. West Wing taking casualties, Park reported. We need support. But Elena couldn't send support. The central approach was her responsibility, and it was being hit hardest. 50 Krethak warriors, the main assault force, coming straight for her position. Straight for the shelters beyond. First squad, weapons free. Her Marines opened up. The palace central corridor became a storm of plasma and explosives. Krethak warriors died by the dozen, but they kept coming. Elena fired her own rifle. Controlled bursts, watching warriors fall. But for every one that fell, 2 more seemed to take its place. A warrior broke through the defensive line. Elena watched it happen in slow motion. The Kretak's impossible speed, flowing past Corporal Mendez's covering fire, all 4 arms reaching for the seal to the shelter access. Elena moved without thinking. Her rifle was empty, no time to reload. She closed the distance, putting herself between the warrior and the seal. The Kretak's blade descended. She caught it. Again, this time with her bare hand wrapped in combat gloves but still just flesh and bone against molecular disruption technology. The blade bit deep, but Elena's hand closed around it, holding it inches from her throat. The Kretak stared at her with compound eyes that reflected astonishment. Not on my watch, Elena said. She twisted, using the warrior's momentum against it, hurling the alien into Mendez's line of fire. The corporal didn't hesitate. A burst of plasma and the warrior fell. Elena's hand was bleeding badly now. She wrapped it quickly, weapon discipline taking over. Reload. Assess. Return to fire position. Captain, Morrison called. East wing is clear. 18 confirmed kills. Moving to support central. Hold your position. This isn't over. She was right. The sensors lit up again. More contacts. Another wave of Kretak warriors, learning from the first assault, adapting their tactics. They weren't using the corridors at all now. They were cutting through walls, ceilings, coming from unexpected angles. Chen, environmental controls. Everything we have. Sections venting atmosphere. Corridors flooding with coolant, temperature extremes that would kill unprotected organisms in seconds. But the Kretak adapted, found safe routes, pressed their assault. Elena's Marines fought like demons. They'd abandoned the prepared positions now. This was fluid combat, desperate and close. She watched Private Chen, arm still in a sling, use his good hand to set a demo charge that collapsed a corridor on 6 warriors. Watched Sergeant Morrison hold the checkpoint alone for 30 seconds while his squad retreated. Impossible odds, and somehow survive. Watched her people die. Private Kowalski. Corporal Williams. Lieutenant Park, who'd taken a blade meant for her squad mate and bled out before the medics could reach her. The numbers were grinding them down. 73 Marines against 300 warriors, now 60 Marines, now 55. The math was ugly and getting worse. Captain Morrison's voice was ragged. We can't hold. There's too many. He was right. The Kretak were learning too fast, adapting too quickly. Every defensive position they took cost more Marines. Every kill zone they prepared, the Kretak found a way around. Humanity's adaptability against Krethak perfection, and perfection was winning. Unless... Elena pulled up the palace environmental controls. All of them. Every section, every system, every contingency. An idea formed. Desperate, insane, possibly brilliant. All personnel, she broadcast, fall back to the shelter approaches. Section by section, controlled retreat. Morrison near the anchor. Chen, I need every Marine wearing full combat armor with sealed life support in 60 seconds. Captain? Morrison's confusion was evident. We're giving up the palace? We're weaponizing it. She began entering commands into the environmental system. Overrides. Emergency protocols. Things the Veltharian engineers had never intended. Her fingers flew across the controls and she could see what she was building, a trap on a massive scale. "Captain," Chen called. "Everyone sealed and falling back." "Hold there for 90 seconds, then seal your section and retreat." "Understood." The Krithik were pursuing, confident now. They'd broken humanity's defenses. They were winning. The palace was theirs. She waited, counting, timing. The warriors pressed forward, filling the sections that her marines had abandoned. More and more of them, consolidating their forces for the final push to the shelters. "Morrison, seal and retreat. Now." The sergeant's section went dark. Bulkheads slamming, locks engaging. Elena's hands hovered over the final control, the one that would either save them or doom them all. She thought about catching that rattlesnake, about the risk, the calculation, the split-second decision. Her mother's voice. "Next time, use the rake." She activated the protocol. Every section of the palace simultaneously vented atmosphere. Every environmental system went to extremes. Searing heat in some corridors, absolute zero in others. Emergency bulkheads sealed randomly, trapping warriors in isolated pockets. The life support grid, designed to protect inhabitants, became a weapon against invaders. And the Kretak, who'd never needed to plan for environmental warfare because they'd always controlled their engagements, found themselves trapped. Elena watched the sensors, watched the heat signatures falter, fail, disappear, watched 300 perfect killers die because they'd never had to consider that their battlefield itself could become the enemy. It took 4 minutes. When it was over, silence filled the command center. Elena stared at the display, at the sections showing zero atmosphere, at the life signs detector reading flatline after flatline. "Status," she said finally. "East wing clear," Morrison reported. "No contacts." "West wing clear," came from Chen. "Environmental hazards active, but no hostiles detected." Elena's own voice sounded distant to her ears. "All Krithok signatures terminated. 73 Marines, 52 now after the casualties, had stopped 300 perfect killers. Not through superior strength or speed or technology, but through stubbornness, adaptability, and a willingness to turn their entire defensive position into a weapon." "Captain," Morrison said quietly, "permission to check on the wounded?"
Granted. Chen, begin atmosphere restoration in clear sections.
"Everyone else, maintain defensive positions until we're certain it's over." Her hand throbbed where the blade had cut deep. Her body ached from the adrenaline crash. She walked through the command center, past exhausted Marines slumped at their stations, toward the shelter entrance. Queen Shavara was waiting when the seals opened. Her compound eyes took in Elena's appearance. Blood-soaked bandage, scorched armor, expression of someone who'd just walked through hell. "Captain Reyes," the Queen said, harmonics barely functioning. "The sensors show. Is it truly over?" "Yes, your radiance. The Krithak have been neutralized." "All of them?" "The largest Kriatok deployment in recorded history, and you stopped them with 73 soldiers." 52 now," Elena said quietly. "We took casualties." The Queen moved forward, her bulk filling the corridor. "You saved my world, Captain, my people, my civilization." Her harmonics carried something that needed no translation. Grief for the fallen, gratitude for the survivors. "How? How did you accomplish the impossible?" Elena thought about that question, about the tactics, the adaptability, the desperate gamble with the environmental systems. But really the answer was simpler. Your Radiance, the Krithak, have never failed because they're perfect. They're engineered, trained, optimized for assassination. But perfection has a weakness. It can't adapt to the truly unexpected. She looked at her bloodied hand. Humans aren't perfect. We're messy, stubborn, and we refuse to accept that anything is truly unstoppable. So when we're told we can't win, we change the rules. The captured assassin was brought forward by guards. She'd watched everything through the security feeds. Her compound eyes studied Elena with something that might have been respect. "You've entered the palace," the assassin said. "Turned the entire structure into a death trap. No warrior in history has faced that tactic." "Because no warrior in history fought humans," Elena replied. "We don't fight fair, we fight to win." The assassin's mandibles clicked. That wet laugh, but different now. Admiration instead of mockery. 3,000 years. 3,000 years of perfect success. And it ends here. Ended by a species barely 50 years into the galactic community. She looked at Queen Shavara. "Your Radiance, I formally declare my contract void. The Krithak have failed. The Hive will withdraw from this matter. Just like that? Morrison had joined them, armor scored and dented. We kill 300 of you and you just give up? The Krithak do not give up, Sergeant.
We adapt.
The assassin focused on Elena again. And we have learned today that humanity is a force requiring recalculation. Our tactics, our approach, our very understanding of warfare must change.
You have taught us humility.
She bowed, a gesture of profound respect in Kritak culture. Elena returned the bow, then looked at Queen Shavara. Your Radiance, I recommend we keep enhanced security until formal peace is confirmed with the Krithak Hive. My people will maintain position. Captain, your people need medical attention. Rest. You've earned. We're certain the threat is over. Elena said firmly. Not before. The Queen's harmonics carried understanding. As you say, Captain. My world is in your debt. Elena walked back to the command center. Her Marines were there, bloodied, exhausted, but alive. 52 out of 73. 21 dead. 21 sacrifices that had saved millions. Private Chen approached, arm still in its sling but grinning. Captain, we did it. We did it. Elena agreed. At a cost. Morrison stood nearby, staring at the casualty list. Park, Williams, Kowalski, they deserved better than this. They deserved to live, Elena said, but they died protecting something bigger than themselves. That counts for something. She pulled up the communication system, preparing to transmit the after-action report to Earth Command. They'd want to know everything, the tactics, the casualties, the unprecedented Kritak defeat. But first, she looked at her surviving Marines, these young men and women who'd faced the impossible and refused to blink. Listen up, she said. What happened here today will be studied for generations. Not just by humans, but by every species in the galaxy. We were supposed to lose. We were supposed to be a footnote in Krithak history. Instead, we became the first force in 3,000 years to stop them. She paused, letting that sink in. But more importantly, we proved something. We proved that humanity belongs here. In this galaxy, among these civilizations facing these threats, we're not the strongest or the fastest, we're not the most advanced or the longest lived, but we're here, and we're staying, and anyone who underestimates us is going to regret it. Quiet cheers from the Marines. Exhausted, but genuine. Elena transmitted the report, then finally allowed herself to sit. Her hand throbbed, her body ached, but they'd won. Against perfect killers, impossible odds, and every logical prediction, humanity had won. The Kritak assassin was released 2 days later after formal peace agreements were signed. Elena watched her depart from the palace landing pad, the alien's 4 arms moving with that distinctive grace.
Before boarding her ship, the assassin turned back. Captain Reyes.
Question. Go ahead. The molecular disruption frequency was calibrated for Veltharian physiology, but it should have affected human tissue even more severely. Those compound eyes studied Elena intently. How did you stop it? Elena smiled slightly. She thought about pain tolerance training, about neural conditioning, about Private Chen gripping her hand hard enough to break bones and never making a sound. But mostly she thought about that rattlesnake in Montana, about the split-second calculation, where to grab, how to hold, accepting the bite to make the catch. You calibrated for severing, Elena said. I grabbed near the hilt, where the disruption field is weakest. Let it cut shallow instead of deep. Misdirection. The assassin stared at her. Then that wet laugh again, carrying genuine amusement. You let me think you'd caught the killing edge. Made me believe humans could withstand our weapons. Psychological warfare from the first moment. Every advantage counts. Indeed. The assassin bowed again. You are a worthy opponent, Captain Reyes. I hope we never meet in combat again, but I would be honored to fight beside you. Her ship lifted into the sky, carrying news of humanity's victory across the galaxy. Elena watched it go, then turned to find Queen Shavara approaching with an entourage of officials and courtiers. Captain Reyes, my government wishes to offer formal thanks. We are prepared to grant humanity preferred trade status, military alliance, and a permanent embassy on our world. The Queen's harmonics were warm, grateful. We also wish to erect a monument to your fallen Marines. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. That would be appreciated, Your Radiance. There is one more thing. Queen Shavara gestured, and an official stepped forward with an ornate container. This is the Star of Velthara, our highest military honor, never before awarded to non-Veltharians, but never before has our world owed such a debt to alien soldiers. Elena accepted the container, inside a crystalline metal that seemed to hold starlight. Your Radiance, I accept this on behalf of all my Marines, living and dead. As it should be. The Queen paused, then spoke more quietly. Captain, I must know. When you chose to fight rather than evacuate, did you truly believe you could win? Or was it simply stubbornness? Elena thought about that farmhouse, about her mother watching her daughter catch a venomous snake and simply nodding, trusting that Elena knew what she was doing. About every impossible situation she'd faced, every time someone had said, "You can't," and she'd proved them wrong. Your Radiance, she said. I believed we had a chance, a small one. But I've learned that sometimes a small chance combined with human stubbornness and refusal to quit is enough. She smiled slightly. Besides, we had something that Krithak didn't. What was that? Then we are truly fortunate that humanity chose to honor their contract with us. Elena looked up at the sky where stars were beginning to appear in the evening darkness. Somewhere out there, news of this battle was spreading. The galaxy was learning what humanity could do when pushed. What 73 Marines, 52 survivors, could accomplish against impossible odds. She thought about the 21 who'd died. Park, Williams, Kowalski, and 18 others. They'd deserved better than a desperate last stand on an alien world. They'd deserved to go home, to see Earth again, to live full lives. But they'd chosen this. Chosen to stand between civilians and killers. Chosen to prove that humanity was more than soft mammals playing its soldier. Chosen to make "not on my watch" mean something. Morrison appeared beside her, looking up at the same stars. Captain, the wounded are stabilized. Chen's arm will heal fine. We're ready for transport whenever Earth Command sends a ship. Good. Elena felt the weight of command, of responsibility, of 21 deaths that she'd carry forever. Make sure the families are notified personally. No form letters. They deserve better. Already done, Captain. Took care of it this morning. Elena looked at her sergeant, this man who'd stood beside her through hell and never wavered. You did good, Morrison. All of you did. We had a good captain. Tomorrow, the diplomatic work would begin. Treaties, alliances, formal recognition of humanity's capabilities, the bureaucracy of victory. But tonight, Elena just wanted to remember her Marines. The living and the dead. The ones who'd faced 300 perfect killers and refused to lose. She touched the bandage on her hand, feeling the throb of healing tissue. Another scar to add to her collection. But this one would remind her of the moment she'd caught a blade and changed galactic history. The moment humanity proved they belonged among the stars. Captain, Chen called from the command center. Earth Command is on the line. They want a full debrief. Tell them it'll take a while. We've got a lot to cover. 52 faces, exhausted but proud. They'd lost friends, taken wounds, faced death. And they'd won. Because that's what humans did. Against impossible odds, perfect killers, and every logical prediction, they adapted, fought, and refused to quit. They caught the blade even when it should have been impossible, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Two halves,